going to have Camille banned out this time. We actually did not see that in game number 1, but it seems like KT's got a different game plan here on the blue side.
Yeah, more chance that there can be an advantageous matchup for on the red side. So they want to ban away 2 champions that he loves to play. You could just ban away Kha'Zix and go for all 3, but that would mean an insane amount of power picks be left available in this draft. So 2 focus bans so far, and I think that's the right read. To me, sets the tone of a Jin Air victory just as much as Deft and Mada set the tone on the blue side. I think when Deft and Mada are able to get a winning 2v2 lane, that is when KT look strongest, but because they have other players, you have to respect solo laners like Pawn and Smeb. You can't just ban away 80 carries, and that means Deft will probably have his choices. Yep, 3 bans just stole in his tracks.
I mean, his Skarner looked okay, but when you take away that and a couple of his other big picks, I think we're going to have in an awkward spot in game number 2. Let's see what they decide to ban out here. I think it will be hard for KT to get both Xayah and Rakan once again, unless Jin Air just hand it on over to them after their first picks. And of course, this ban still available. Down to the wire here, and they decide to ban out Azir.
So what KT make of this? They could just look for the strongest available jungler. Jax or Jarvan will be in the description, but neither of them feel like takeaways. So honestly, a power mid laner, Zoe first pick could happen, even if Pawn has prioritized it less than other people. Could see strongest available 80 carry come out, but with kind of trades everywhere else, they go for the one true win. They take away the Zoe. Gangplank was available, but perhaps we'll see Smeb on lane dominance for once, as it might just be the lock-in for Sowan.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. GP still incredibly strong on 8.3, which is the patch we're on, so does get locked on in. This time, Sowan not going to be looking to entirely outplay his opponent, especially early on. Kallista's still available for Teddy. I was talking about this before. He's undefeated so far, 3-0. Could definitely go for this one. And he does lock it in.
It does bring them playmaking from the bot lane, whichever support is taken. And the Fate's Call into a Gangplank ult could be great for turret dives as well. So I expect Deft and Mada to go very powerful in the 2v2. Could just be Xayah Rakan as a rollback. Could be a Caitlyn lane as well. Or they could try going ultra safe with Ezreal and then play around Smeb on a strong laner. So let's see what the read is here. The Ezreal means they're going to be safer rather than more dominant in the bot side. A lot of potential for perhaps some excitement on the top side. Now I'm sitting there hoping for Smeb's Riven to be dusted off from 3 years ago.
Hey, why not? Let's see it.
The Gnar would be the very obvious other choice.
Unfortunately.
Much less fun, but will be the choice here. So just going for the standard stuff for KT Rolster.
I'm waiting for 8.4. I think things are going to be mixed up a lot more. We'll see a lot less Gnar versus GP, which is like half the games we have so far with 8.3. But Taliyah gets locked in, so that makes me happy at least.
Your personal pick there in the mid lane, your pocket pick, Valdez, if you got a video, that would be what it was recently, the Taliyah coming through. They won't have the Skarner to pair with it, so they won't have the very impressive Weaver's Wall into guaranteed suppression engage they use so well. But Grace in general was fantastic on this pick.
Yeah.
BDD yesterday, a superstar, especially in Game 3 for Kingzone. So the Taliyah finally actually being relevant. We saw more of it on 8.2, but 8.3 is where people's Taliyah mechanics have been back in vogue. Osterban on the red side is interesting here, seeing an reel on our screen.
Where is this?
I don't know.
Kind of confusing, but cool nonetheless.
A lot of candid photos of everyone's favorite Jin Air jungler. Jin Air can just take the strongest available support on the red side as first pick. Tom Kench for safety might be the way they go, especially because they have a pretty squishy lineup so far with Taliyah and the Gangplank. Banning away the Jarvan. So when it comes to junglers for score, they flashed the Gragas earlier, an old favorite of his, but unlikely. Jack's still available here. So Jack's, I think, will go either on blue or red side. One team will pick it up.
30 KDA on the Kalista from Teddy. That's a high number, guys. We'll see if he can boost those stats. It's very hard to get 30 KDA. That means he's probably got 1 death and 30 kills and assists. Otherwise, he's got 60 and 2 deaths.
He's doing pretty well for himself, is what you're saying. Because there hasn't been a focus for him. The Ezreal being much bigger. Support picks, they will not go for the Tahm Kench, all things considered. Would have been a nice answer to the Zoe. They go for the Taric instead, saying that they want to be the ones who start the fights and the time don't engage.
We were talking about KDA. Well, Wraith has 36 KDA on Taric.
Also a big number.
Yeah.
Zac is open.
And he has a loss on Taric. Not even sure how that's possible.
They have the Gnar into GP, so they're saying they can go for a scaling jungler. So far, that read seems fine. Be all about backline access here for the Zac. AT looking to round their draft out with a support. The Tahm Kench wasn't taken by Jin Air, so just be happily taken by the side of KT Rolster. So they have a very strong siege comp here. A lot of poke and turret taking with the Ezreal and Zoe when they can eventually set up the 4-1. But if Gangplank is beating the Gnar in trades in the side lane, which can happen at 4 items, then this draft will be difficult for KT to pull off. Looking for jungle as the final pick here. Are we going to go battle warding here for Jin Air? Looks like he's having some last-second conversations. They will lock it in. Ends up being an insanely squishy lineup here from the side of Jin Air. Taking a Baron with this team is very difficult to pull off. Taric can use a Cosmic Radiance, I guess, for clear and has the tier to go into some sustain, but this is going to be a risky Baron, even if they do have the secure coming through from the Kalista. They obviously want to play 4-1 with the Gangplank. Snowball draft taken by Jin Air. But Zac looks at this draft and says, if I get the right elastic slingshot, I'm just winning a team fight with the Kidnap.
Score had an incredible game in game number 1, and with all the pressure that was on Empty to do something with the Skarner early on in game 1, there's going to be even more pressure this time around to shut down Score, to be in his face with that Nidalee pick. He needs to essentially wipe him off the map and make that Zac as useless as possible.
But this is also the Zoe dream, Valdez. Oh boy, this is a lineup where one Paddle Star could one-shot basically everyone in the game. Even Taric is not going to be feeling too comfortable. So if you want to whine about Zoe balance levels on patch 8.3 Twitch chat, have I got a game for you?
This will probably be the one, but we'll see if Jin Air can get far ahead in the early game. I'm sure Score, looking at this one, knows exactly what he's going up against, though. Very experienced jungler. We were mentioning before, it's his 6th anniversary in LCK. This guy has played probably more games than any other player that's on the Rift right now with him.
He's right up there. Some of the SKT players with all their success have played a lot of games, all close to 600, 400 LCK games for Score earlier last week. He is that superstar when it comes to the LCK. But guys, I think it's game time.
It looks like it is. So guys, prepare yourselves for game number 2. KT up against Jin Air. Right from level 1, here we go. Score gonna eat a bunch of damage, but has Pawn nearby. Would love to get a full screen view of this. Thank you. There we go.
Score will need to back. That does mean that Deep Vision can go down from the side of Jin Air. Want as much information on the start for the Zac so they can commence Nidalee invading in his face and trying to force him out of his jungle. This is the meta of summer all over again. The summer final was decided by Zax being invaded by aggressive counter jungling. That was Kha'Zix on the day. It's the Nidalee this time. Jin Air finding a way to empower Umti is what we mentioned. With 3 jungle bans, it looked impossible, but dusting off the Nidalee, still going to be looking for some battle warding. And KT have not drafted their comfort, which usually is a heavily winning bot lane for Deft and Mada to abuse. So insanely hard to do that, as Tahm Kench and Ezreal, outside of the level 1 pushing from the Ezreal, is going for some counter jungling of his own.
Def getting in there. Is going to lose position in the lane now, as Teddy and Wraith are going to push this one up, but Score starting his red by himself. The wards are not going to spot him out at the blue or the wolves, so they know that he must be down there, but they see Mada as well in the lane, and they're like, where's he at?
So let's uncouple what happened there. The reason why Deft walks up is that Nidalee very rarely starts a camp by herself. Gets a pretty hard leash because she can fall low in the jungle. Seeing Nidalee execute to Raptors is a sometimes thing. Actually happened in the LPL yesterday as Swift died to the Raptors. So sort of thing where she falls low. So of course she's getting a leash, right? No, Teddy and Wraith had rushed to lane. And that surprised Deft. It's why we didn't even see one single Q poke, because he knew he was out of position to get the level 2. So nice little next level there by Jin Air as Score's doing the Zach thing, power farming both camps.
Yeah. I feel like he took it a little bit slower overall. Tried to get that blue low and then go for the Gromp here. Umti still going to come on in, level 2. Ooh, that spear is on target. And he's not going to go for it because Score, of course, will have to respect this. Just going to take the Gromp away. This is exactly what we expected. Working out pretty well so far for MT.
Cheeky proto belt from Pawn, so able to get a good trade there. Weren't able to get the passive at level 1, otherwise that would have been a kill onto the Zac. Continues to counter jungle. This is the right way to play the matchup. Jin Air need the snowball. We mentioned the inevitability of Zoe one-shotting. Way to stop that is to play around the Zoe, hit the side lanes, control the enemy jungler, never let the game extend to the part where Zoe is on item parity or just on 4 items in general, and then maybe things will be fine if she's being gap closed at every opportunity.
We do have a ping onto the Nidalee. MT making his way into Battle Ward once again. The ward's going to come down. Doesn't seem like he really cares, though, because Score is level 2. It's going to be hard for the bottom lane to respond. It's being pushed in.
And you know who's good at responding to the red side jungle? Taliyah when the Weaver's Wall is available. So it's going to be a multi-layered plan. They can never take their foot off the accelerator here, Jin Air GreenWings. Always try to control the enemy jungle. While it looks risky on paper, while Soda Draft, where a couple of kills go KT's way, it might go the same way as game number 1. Jin Air have a plan, and so far, they seem to be pretty good at executing it.
Yeah, looking good so far. Grace taking the phase rush here on the Taliyah, so not looking to own the lane up against the Zoe, but looking to be just more of a presence and have that mobility in the team fights.
Not a common pick. We see Comet. We definitely see Summoner Airy a lot. But like you say, phase rush to try to ignore the multitude of slows, including a Frozen Mallet Gnar as the game goes on. I know you experiment with Taliyah a lot. Have you ever actually given a go at the phase rush?
Not just yet. I mean, people like to meme about how terrible it is overall, but I feel like it definitely would work out a little bit better in competitive compared to solo queue.
It's also one of those things where if you go, let's say you go phase rush, then you're like, okay, it's Jin Air, what about Gathering Storm? Maybe you just don't have enough lane presence to actually look for the advantageous early trade, so there is a cost in going for a non-damaging main rune and then potentially other non-damaging runes.
Score was trying to do some counter jungling of his own, but
he's not spotted here.
Yeah.
Skillfully avoided vision so far as Score's waiting for his Gromp.
And MT's right there, right on top of him.
How long do you wait here? Taliyah's rotating over. Taliyah will likely be revealed. Let's see.
He's dancing in the brush right now. Seems pretty happy about this one. Isn't going to wait all too long. The slingshot comes out, gets low, does have that redemption from Zoe. Thank you very much.
Of course he does. Just Zoe things. We're on patch 8.3, so the teleport is still able to be picked up by the Zoe as well. That's removed on patch 8.4, along with all the other nerfs, if you guys are wondering.
This is so good for MT, though. He takes the Gromp and the Wolves again. He's not going to take the Wolves as Smeb is on top of him here. That's a nice bit of damage, but look at Taliyah coming on in, trying to save MT's life here. The knockup is going to be to the right side. Smeb getting low. The spear just barely misses, and the TP from Sowan means that Spawn, or rather Pawn, does back up, not the caster. And so he does get away.
Score would really like to hit level 3.
Ooh.
Level 4, I should say, does get the experience from that one, and this time Pawn and Grace once again meet.
And MT doesn't seem to care. They're going to collapse here onto Pawn, but dodging the seismic shove. Now we got a couple of heads bouncing together, and Smeb, he's going to get in here first. That's going to be first blood. Jin Air going a little bit too far and finally being punished for it.
Yeah, you play with fire enough times, you get burned eventually, Valdez. No way for Sowan to react. Wasn't level 6, only level now. So didn't have the cannon barrage to invest. They tried to collapse, they get collapsed upon. Score knocks some heads. I bet that was cathartic after being counter-jungled for the better part of 6 minutes. And now you wonder, will Umti be able to return with flash down, with Pawn getting some items, with the game state changing after he goes down?
It was a lot invested in those couple of fights, too. I mean, we had the Weaver's Wall come out. That's a very low cooldown. Also, the flash down on Grace means that a Zac gank in the mid lane is going to be so huge. Taliyah doesn't really have any other escape outside of that, so they can definitely abuse that if Empty can't find his way on top of Score. But speaking of which, he is right on top of Score right now. Going to steal a bunch of these small raptors away. Trying to get the big one. Will do so.
You know, an A for effort, certainly, for who I feel like the one mistake he made was, as that last invade was happening that caused him to die, Gangplank was level 5 still, and Gnar was level 6. Gnar roamed down, had an impactful ultimate. If you just give away one camp, then return to the scene of the crime in the red side this time with Gangplank ultimate, you're able to make those plays so much more comfortably on the bottom side of the map because your top laner will always react first, even without teleporting. So you need to read the texture of your top lane a little bit closer. You can't just say, I know every camp's respawn time, I'm going to contest every camp. Because there's going to be certain times that with a losing top lane matchup like Gangplank versus Gnar, there will be room to punish. So credit to KT for punishing. Small mistake from Jin Air does slow down the advance of the Battle Ward.
Yeah, and props to Smeb for being there as well. I don't think it was a teleport that got him in. He's very famous for his teleport plays, but I think it's just his overall map awareness that allows him to make plays like this with his teleport or without. So he was there right on top of the Nidalee, read it perfectly, and grants KT that first blood.
Yeah. Gnar will always have control of the lane. Early, it was on Gnar's side of the map because it was on the blue buff there. Bot lane. Nice little harass coming in, but Deft won't be stunned up, so Mata takes the damage for his carry. Very different to see Deft and Mata under turret. Again, so many games of Caitlyn and Xayah and Rakan in a row where KT's game plan was about the early priority bot lane, and not happening this time.
Yeah, being pushed in, that lethal tempo Callista is going to be used in this game as well. Saw that a bit yesterday. It's pretty ridiculous how much attack speed you can get up to.
Seeing Deft back on the Ezreal for the first time in a while does get to treat us to his Mystic Shot accuracy, something we've always complimented him on. Vision pushed up. As top side, looking to collapse on Smeb. This would be 3 members.
Dodging the barrels like a beast, though. And you'll notice that and Grace just back off. Soan getting a little bit too low. And the 3v3 was going to come in as Pawn and Score were rotating.
Ganking the Gangplank lane is something you never really want to do. So when they realized they were being shadowed by Score and Pawn, there was no reason to over-index on that. They just back away. A harassment ignite. Feels like we've got Season 1 Reginald going on here with igniting off cooldown, but Pawn had pirated a ignite from a minion.
That's a really nice blue buff for Pawn to secure there. Makes his harass even more efficient in the mid lane. He was already super low on mana, but had he had it stolen away, perhaps if MT hadn't died earlier on, then would have been a tougher lane for the Zoe up against Taliyah.
And most of the time when we see Zoe, it is with the Malzahar or the Skarner, a high priority on picking up QSS early. Those item timings are coming earlier this time, Valdez. We do see him being able to ignore any QSSs in the early game, so the damage that we know will inevitably be able to delete members of Jin Air, 5 perhaps, is going to be faster. So feels like around the 30-minute mark, things will be getting very hairy for any member taking a max-range Paddle Star.
They have vision of Soan there, but decide not to do it. Score just heads into the mid lane, or rather into the red side jungle, I should say, and backs away. This means that we are going to have the Infernal Drakes started up here by and Grace. Make that Teddy and Wraith to join up as well.
Nice little reward coming through for Jin Air. All the aggression has gotten a lead to the tune of 5 jungle camps and now an Infernal Drake for Jin Air. So far, so good. It's what's expected, it's what's required. This sort of a lead not being inactive. If there was an even game, that would be just a disaster for the side of Jin Air. So at least they're acting on their win conditions so far. The Trouble Bubble hit there, but the Paddle Star was not available. If only he had 0.25 second lower cooldown,
know,
maybe he would have hit that one.
Yep. Poor guy. Just wait until 8.4.
We just won't see Zoe then.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
We'll be seeing a lot of Malzahar, Azir, and all that
Taliyah.
good stuff. Taliyah, yes.
I bet the return of Ahri will also be coming in. There's my prediction. That might sound different to other people, but I think Ahri's back. Korean release champion, of course, when they opened the Korean server. Ahri was there to celebrate it.
Yeah. Oh boy, gonna get knocked up here, and Pawn actually in a bit of trouble, forced to burn his heal. Grace looking for the solo queue, having to come in, and that's one stopwatch you don't want, but he mistimes it, actually, and cannot get the kill here on the Pawn. Still trying to get on in here, and Pawn will still go down in the end to Soan, of all people, who does pick up the kill.
Pawn playing with fire, too far up in the lane. Great collapse. We expect the first collapse to come from Jin Air. This'll Voyage be damned. He continues to play super aggressively. Doesn't get the kill, but the kill involvement is fine by him. And Gangplank, of all people, picks up the kill. They keep pushing in bot side. Plan full court press will continue for Jin Air GreenWings.
Now, let's take another look at the replay here.
So consider where Pawn is. He's playing towards his control wards. That part there is just fine. Ooh. We return to it. Really nice seismic shove comes
Max
on
range
to KT, yeah. And the seismic shove is what changes it. Prediction, the prediction. Flashed away from. And while Abyssal Voyage is there, bot lane starts to come up. Does not respect the Zac whatsoever. Someone eventually has to die. It ends up being Pawn. Extra kill the way of Jin Air GreenWings.
Getting some more of that juicy Grace Talia play. Love to see more and more of that. Already having his way with Zoe, and we are going to have a pause.
Hopefully we'll be able to let you know, guys, when we know what the issue is. Audio issues have been the problem at the OGN Stadium, so we'll find out if that's what's happening here.
When you're Sport TV, you need a CG for the pauses.
It's true. You guys were the market leaders in that.
Yeah. We're a bit better with that this time around, 2018. Slowly improving broadcast.
Like all the new stuff, the inhibitor respawn time is a really fun one that Sport TV put up. We're looking at so I'm guessing it's in the Jin Air booth we have this issue.
Yeah. Sometimes the production likes to predict it, but let's see if we can get an answer here. Didn't notice any problem in the game. Nobody stopping or disconnecting that I noticed. So there was a mic issue. Not sure who it was. Maybe MT. And it makes sense because we've had now a 30-second view of MT in the booth.
Checking out King T. King T, of course, the affectionate name thrown his way when it's a good game for I asked him backstage if he could rename to anything, because is obviously a bit of a different name. What would he choose? He just said King T, so he knows which side the memes are on.
He's embraced it.
Embracing the memes is usually the best way to go.
I'm sure he wouldn't like to name himself MT, though.
Sounds like we're just momentarily away from game, and here we go. Thanks, production. Let us know. The video games will roll on.
That they will. Feels like we're getting better with that as the years go on. 2018 has been pretty forgiving.
Look at Score. He's finding new ground. He's in the enemy jungle.
He's going in there.
He does have Gnar and Zoe responding first, but Smite and takeaway by
No mic issue's going to hold him back.
It was with first rotation, but not fast enough to actually impact the fight. Zac has to walk back to his own jungle, head in hands a little bit. It's been a tough game for Score, but expected when the Nidalee last pick came out for Jin Air.
Yeah. He's going to slow down his leveling and his farming quite a lot in this game, but will have a very similar role in terms of looking for those squishy targets and trying to elastic slingshot anyone that he can get onto.
Then Warmogs will be complete, and it'll be all about the Baron bait for KT Rolster. We mentioned already that Jin Air had Baron damage, but almost no way to tank it short of some sort of clean ace. With the ability to turn off Baron with a Zac and all the re-engage they have with a Trouble Bubble over the wall, and now flanking is a big thing for KT Rolsters. These trades are going very nice by the side of Jin Air.
Already Blade of the Ring King finished up here for Teddy, so he is very happy to take it. And look, we got the first Weaver's Wall, trying to make a difference down in the bottom side. The Cosmic Radiance and Zac trying to push his way in here towards his turret. Gets low, but still lives. No passive Wraith. Nearly gets chunked down. Super low, and there's the second one. The Paddle Star right in the face. Pawn having a fun time so far. Grace trying to make things interesting, but Pawn, it's all about him here, and the rest of his team able to follow up, looking for another one. Can't quite get it on the backside, but so much damage put out from the Zoe. The rest of his team able to push him up.
And that's the Zoe you can praise. The battle Zoe from Pawn was awesome to see. Love the aggressive Paddle Star to finish off Wraith, and then he's kept going, invested his picked up Flash in order to get more kills. Still has his own Flash, of course, just the way of Zoe. Death turning on to Who's trying to stop the turret going down.
Speaking of T or King T or In T, whatever you want to call him, he's got to be careful. The Nidalee good for invading, but not for going 1v2.
Yeah, he got the call from his bot lane that he needed to stop one of the waves from crashing, getting turret damage for the side of KT. We're going to see the replay here. The setup here, reminiscent of what we saw from Jin Air last time with Skarner and Talia, but they don't have the Skarner this time. The Cosmic Radiance at the perfect time. They hold on to it. Grace can tank turret aplenty. Score falls low, and you think, okay, free turret for the side of Jin Air. But here comes Pawn. I love this second paddle star. It's not backwards, it's forwards. Knows he just wants to finish off Taric. No extra sustain during the fight. And then so aggressive from Pawn. Great to see from him. Teamfight cleanup, not often what we see from a Zoe. Usually it's the non-interactive max range paddle stars. Those will come later. But teamfight Zoe there, cool to see.
Wraith giving up his life, blocking the paddle star, the max range one for Teddy, but unfortunately at that point they had gotten themselves too far in the hole, too far down the lane, and KT looking good so far. Still a very even games in terms of gold, and Jin Air does have that Infernal Drake, so. Oh, okay, gonna miss that one. Bit of a trolly scuttle crab there as Smeb is gonna pick it up.
Don't talk about the smooth moves of the scuttle crab too often, but helped out the side of KT. Teddy's trying to chase down. They're going for the all-in here.
Missing the dazzle, unfortunately, but we have another Weaver's Wall down here, and it looks like the catfish is going to be fished out of the water and taken down. So didn't even need the wall in that one.
Yeah, Zoe was topside. This one also guarantee the turret is picked up. Good aggression from the side of Jin Air. They can turn onto the Drake as well. Jin Air playing through the KT bot lane will really turn the game on a 180 from what we've seen in recent KT games, as recent as game one. This time KT don't have a winning bottom side. Enough roams down bot. Someone has to die. It's the catfish. The Tom Kench is benched. Take a second Drake as well and try to rotate that lead to other parts of the map.
You'll notice the rotation immediately up as Score was trying to take the Rift Herald, but will be denied by the entirety of the team. That doesn't back immediately. First going for the rotation.
Shopping time doesn't have the Hurricane yet. Just going to work on the Zeal. We're seeing the history here. Look at how much pink there is to symbolize. I keep saying symbolize how much time has spent in the enemy jungle. There's a surprising amount of pink, largely on the blue side. That's where spent most of the early game invading to the jungle of KT, trying to make the ZAC accountable. It's 30 CS, so now we're talking about there being the better part of 8 camps that have gone the way of It's a bigger gold lead. It's going to still just end up being a Athene's as a second item here, so it's about the larger heals coming from They're going to need the heals because, as we mentioned, the paddle stars, they're still coming.
But they are. Good to just support your other 2 damage dealers in the game as well.
Oh.
Ooh, Wraith taking a bit of chunking damage underneath that turret as Deft and Mata trying to push up as much as they possibly can.
Control build from Deft this time. Isn't going the way of the Trinity Force Ezreal. That's been the norm this week. Understands that this game is more about control, and they have the inevitable teamfight lead as Grace dealing with a melee range Gnar.
Right in his face there. There's the heal you were talking about. Paddle Star does sail wide. That's pretty nice to see. doing his job. You were talking about the CS lead, but also the double Drake that we've had come out. And a second Infernal Drake, just like game one, will be on the cards here.
Going for a happy roam leads to Gangplank taking Gnar's turret first. That's not something that happens with any regularity. They had some control on the top side that largely has been the playground for KT. So Gangplank equal in CS in a tricky matchup. Gonna go back, probably Asterix Gauge on this back if he wants it. Means he's not gonna have to worry about being taken down by the Gnar in any realistic fashion. Can start working on the damage. Things going better than expected for Sowan. The bot lane winning as they picked for. So where they picked the weakest, where the most scaling was happening, Jin Air got an advantage. In the bot lane, where they picked for an advantage, they got it as well. So kind of getting the cake and eating it here at the early game for Jin Air GreenWings.
Yeah, still have some great potential for the Zoe Ezreal combination to get incredible amounts of damage in terms of poke later on in the game, but we'll see if KT can get to that part of the game. It's already 20 minutes in, feeling the burn.
The later part of the game is something we always talk about as an inevitability, and we're in a meta where games go long. But it doesn't always have to be. If they keep playing at this pace, they try to cross-map because they still have Gangplank ult. To cross-map, we haven't even had to talk about that as they haven't needed it, only the Talia Weaver's Wall. Then things can continue to be bad. The late game will become an inverted commas thing rather than a real state of the game. So all KT can do is hang back, pick up as much of CS as possible, and accept the fact that basically in every lane, Jin Air have good news stories.
Teddy in a bit of trouble here. He burns his flash to get out of this one. And we have Smeb nearing that Mega Gnar. Cosmic Radiance is going to help out here a bit, but look at the wombo combo. Defco getting low. They're trying to get him down here, but they just barely cannot. Even Sowan diving on in, but can he get the damage required? He flashes in, and there he does. Now it looks like Jin Air looking to turn this one around. Grace on full health and full mana, trying to poke him down, but Smeb and Score just barely trying to get out, but Sowan with the last shot to the face is going to pick up a double kill.
Yeah, so the 3-for-1. Pawn wasn't able to rain from range. He's had to deal with being closer. He's trying to fight once again, 5v5. Teddy lives for so long as the Cosmic Radiance does arm. Almost takes out Deft in the front line. Then we had frontline Gangplank. Sterix Gauge complete. Massive power spike for the Gangplank, who has almost 50% of the kills, more than 50% of the kills on the side of Jin Air.
He's 3-0-1 with 2 massive items picked up already. Sowan, this game is his oyster if he wants to make it. And no doubt he will be. So look towards that Gangplank to be chunking people down in the near future.
And he's going for a cheaper build as well. No sign of the Infinity Edge Phantom Dancer just yet. Going for probably a Youmuu's Ghostblade for some chase. He's chasing for kills. He's not looking to get away against the Gnar. So Gnar in a standard laning matchup where you expect him to get a lead, was able to get 10 CS, but a bad roam timing. Chunked out Grace, but lost the turret topside, and now multiple fights in a row. Gangplank has been able to mop up. These are worrying times for KT, even if, again, the inverted commas late game looks kind to them as the game goes on.
Zoe picked up a Void Staff second here. You were talking about how the world was Zoe's oyster when you were looking at the draft, and it really still is. So many squishy targets, and the Void Staff going to make it even more fun for her. Teddy now on the front line looking to do a bit of trading, but Score having a rough trade here up against Grace. Speaking of which, but now going to be caught from the left side. There's the Zoe. Grace going a little bit too deep. He's going to be picked off. Kind with my word saying a little bit because he was out of position.
Now, meanwhile, at that point, though, Valdez in the side lane, so I'm getting a lot of work done. Gnar roamed up, got nothing from it. So just a kill in exchange for most of the turret HP. Gangplank will back away, trying to be safe. Here's Score, looking for a turret dive on the Zac.
Wraith in the front, just trying to dodge whatever he can. The
Drake
rotation
is spawning
coming on
in 5 seconds, and Score obviously very out of position for that.
They want to get empty, and they get him! The combination of Deft and Pawn, that poke damage. Now it's just up to them to get out of dodge here, and they will in the end of it all. But look at the chunk damage out of Sohan. Don't even look at Pawn right now, as he's going to make Pawn useless in this one.
We've got 2 orbital missiles, the Gangplank barrels, and also the Zoe. Going for Void Staff was largely to be able to do damage to Talia, who had rushed the Banshee Veil. Liandry's is the max damage build. And second item slot for the Zoe at this point in the game, but doing some great damage nonetheless, and seems to be working for a Banshee Veil of her own.
Yep, like the itemization, we have a couple of people that stand out on the scoreboard. It's certainly Pawn versus Sowan this time, trying to compete for as many kills as possible. And they both do some nice poking damage and good burst. We'll see who comes out on top.
I don't know if nice is the word I would use, Valdez. Disgusting
well,
will be what comes to mind. Infernal number 2 is spawned, and this is the one where KT feel like they're strong enough to compete. It's about 3,000 gold lead between the 2 teams.
Well, Weaver's Wall is going to look to solidify the streak, but see you later. The paddle start into the True Shot Barrage. The teamwork coming through for KT, taking the jungler off the map and taking the streak for their own.
They're threading the needle even when they're weak. Big moment for KT Rolster, picking up that one. Great accuracy. They're running topside. I think Baron right now is unrealistic for KT, but Baron's setup will begin as Jin Air. And I wonder how that one went against them when the Weaver's Wall was in a great spot.
Well, they felt like they had the position, but actually Smeb just below them, able to get past that Weaver's Wall and slow down Umti and lock that in. The nice little boulder to the face.
And Umti's personal build has definitely taken a lot of punishment from all of his counter jungling being turned around the 7-8 minute mark. It's going to be in Athene's Unholy Grail. That's what the next item is, but largely going to be about the heals. The poke is certainly not going to be on the level of the Zoe or the Gangplank in this game. Gangplank is still a good news story. We're going to watch the replay. The Weaver's Wall. Great usage here, around 6 seconds. But the rest of the team will be interrupted. One round hits onto the Nidalee. Goodbye. Was tanking also the Infernal at the start. To start to fall low. Doesn't matter what hits onto KT on the back end of this. Control back the way of KT Rolster. The items that were looking impossible to get 20 minutes ago for Zach are now there. He has the Warmogs, cheaper build for these tanks compared to the damage dealers. He can now dive the backline. He has a stopwatch as well. See if backline access is available for score.
Taking a look at the 1v1 here so far. The Youmuu's finished up for Sohan, but you see that Smeb is not scared to still sit in the face of this Fed GP.
Should be holding down the build for Magic Resist, so showing some respect for Pawn. Ruby Crystal and a No Magic Mantle in the inventory. Score is spotted, but he's going to use the Elastic Slingshot defensively. Jin Air have the control on mid lane. They're waiting for Na to roam up here, KT.
Trying to get the cheeky barrels in the face was Sohan, but doesn't really work out. KT on top of stopping that. You mentioned how the items are there. Score can essentially just eat whatever poke comes out of both and Grace, as long as he doesn't get hit by a seismic shove or anything like that.
It's all about playing side lanes for Jin Air. What they want to do here is have Talia push in top side and then Weaver's Wall behind the turret to allow the take here for Jin Air GreenWings. But KT trying to snuff that out. See Score walking top side to try to defend the Talia pushing.
Oh, he's trying to go for the 1v1. We were talking about how he's down on items. Is going to hit the barrel at least. And Smeb will not be slowed up or forced to get out of there. Does burn his flash, though.
We haven't tapped over to gold in a while, but it's going to be a significant gold lead for the Gangplank. Has the luxury of slowing down some of the damage for just a bit of Magic Resist because he's so far ahead in terms of the clock. So in a happy spot, did a lot of work on this turret before, gonna get it now. So third turret of the game rolls down for Jin Air. KT just pushing onto their first. It's been a great turret game so far for Jin Air.
Yeah, finally get this one with the pressure that Score puts up there. Grace not confident to stick underneath the turret, even with MT nearby.
10-stack Dark Seal for Pawn. We start thinking about Magi's, but probably not going to come in here regardless. High AP values. The Magic Pen was completed earlier. The Zoe is online. We mentioned 30 minutes was where you start to fear for the life of any member of Jin Air. If you absorb a max range Paddle Star, he already has most damage in the game, only by 300, sorry, I should say 700 behind Kalista. So close to the most damage in the game for the Zoe. Now's the time for him to really ramp up in these next sieges.
Oh boy, he's going to be hit up there, and there you go. There's the combination, but the two-shot barrage does go wide. Doubtful whether that would have killed him, but there's that engage. They were trying to get on top of Pawn, and now Score wants to kidnap someone. Looks like Teddy gets kidnapped, but actually it was Score who was in trouble. The Fate's Call trying to make this work, but Death flashes out. Grace is going to be the hero in the end that finally picks up the kill. That's going to be one for Jin Air after all of that action.
It just ends up being too much initiation attempt there by Score. Goes into the backline, dives, ends up taking turret shots. He does kidnap Teddy, but that's all he really gets out of it. The rest of the team traded up on. The Gangplank ult rotates first. Speaking of Gangplank, he's at Baron. They're trying to take it right now.
Looks like he's going to be the tank in this one, and with the Weaver's Wall as well. KT not going to get even close at the end of it all. So Baron will be picked up for Jin Air as they look to get ahead in this one.
Baron buff so important on this comp with low tank. It's going to see the replay. They had already been able to get a good chunk. They didn't need to go for a turret dive, but they felt comfortable. When they got the kidnap onto Teddy, they might have thought the good news is going to roll. But the re-engage with the Dazzle and the Cosmic Radiance, Gangplank ult in a great spot to separate the members of KT. Score's out of the fight, Pawn's out of the fight. The fight's over, and Jin Air gets a Baron.
It's awesome to see Teddy calm, cool, and collected with the Zac right on top of him. Dodges the elastic slingshot, gets kidnapped, but he's doing damage the entire time to allow that kill to come through, or the near kill onto the Zac, and essentially take him out of the fight. So nicely done by Teddy. Looking for the trouble bubble here. does miss as KT trying to keep the wave as far away from the turret as possible.
Gangplank went for a Spirit Visage. May actually sell this in the late game, as weird as that sounds, for more damage, but does mean that he's able to walk up in sieges and actually be involved. He won't always be in a side lane, it turns out. Walks up, he's happy to take a Battle Star. They want this mid lane out of turret, and they're going to get it easily. Eventually. Come on, minions.
Do it!
Oh. Give him time. They'll get there.
It's like a 13 health turret. They'll be happy to take the third Infernal of the game instead.
Well, that's happy times for a damage comp. 4 damage dealers. They turn on to the Infernal. They'll get it. KT's a step behind the play. They're in a great spot still composition-wise, but the gold lead suddenly is really starting to register for Jin Air. Turret will be taken down. Thanks. Thanks, minions. You did the job for me eventually.
Yeah.
Pawn may be powerful, but not actually able to walk up and confidently look for the paddle stars that looked possible in the team fight we had early game in the bot lane. Jin Air continued to run around the map, and if Score messes up another engage, or if they over-force, and then Jin Air do have the turn, as we can see.
Yeah, we're going to need Zach to get just a bit more tanky. He's still essentially on the one item and the jungle item at this point in time. Still behind Nidalee, about 40 CS in this game.
Smeb's an 80 cannon build, has gone for the Hurricane. We've been seeing that a little bit more recently. Theory is that every auto has a flat amount of Gnar rage that's built on auto. It's not about how much damage you do, it's how many enemies are hit by an auto attack.
Yeah,
so
how many autos?
In a team fight, when you're no longer exhausted, you actually build up Mega Gnar very, very fast with a Hurricane. Doesn't help him in the 1v1, though. It's not a Phantom Dancer, so I feel like he will increasingly lose these trades harder than he already is against the Gangplank, which has been a problem for KT throughout this game.
See what he can do about that. Talia coming on in here with their Weaver's Wall, saying this is our turret now. Not much that KT can do about this except wait for the Weaver's Wall cooldown to be down. They'll just have to give that one up, but so far just 2 turrets as the Baron buff is going to be taken out here, and so on getting a little bit low. Smeb in the front, trying to make something happen. There's the Mega Gnar and the sleep here onto Teddy. You can see all that poke slightly, ever so slightly coming on in, but no full engage from KT just yet.
We back away, we breathe for a moment. KT only a single turret to their name in the top side. Walking in mid lane, the ARAM area where sometimes a Zoe can overtake. No wards on the flanks, makes it very difficult for Zoe to confidently move up. Closer and closer to 6 items is pawn, though, as be a 4th item Leandri's here, and he doesn't want to sell his Dark Seal anytime soon with the 10 stacks there. So slowly getting map control back, but a gold lead to the tune of just over 5,000 for Jin Air GreenWings. It's going to be Death Cap, actually, as a 3rd item here for the Nidalee.
Yeah, looking that way so far. Chilling here at 34 minutes into this game. No big objective on the map just yet, but we do have Elder Drake coming up next. Probably about 4 or 5 minutes away from that one. We'll see what KT can do to get some vision on the map and perhaps get a pick with their composition. The Zoe, ever oppressive as she builds up more and more items, now on 4.
Teddy's now finished his double lifesteal, so in a team fight, if ever left to her own devices, she will be able to skip in and out freely with this much lifesteal. Score looking in, draws a flash already.
Yeah, there's that flash and the Fate's Call, but the double kidnap is going to come in. That Cosmic Radiance makes things a lot better in the fight for Jin Air, and you know that Grace is trying to be in the front and poke him down, but can't quite get close enough.
There's that negative synergy between Pawn and Score where you really want to heavily engage as the Zac, but it also hurries the Zoe from going for her natural playstyle of looking for the poke, looking for the max range paddle star. In the mid lane, Jin Air trying to close this one out, but there's the Banshee Veil blown from Grace.
Pawn still struggling to find a pick. And so far, Smeb has been outplaying So-On in the 1v1. From when we're looking at another sleep here onto Teddy, but can't quite make the kill happen just yet.
Very tense point in the game. Jin Air's game plan, even with the deaths to was exactly what they needed to do with the draft. They pigeonholed themselves in, last picking the Nidalee. Umti may have fallen a couple of times, but the pressure from the Talia and also the battle warding by Umti has opened up the goalies, allowed them to play the sort of game plan that so many teams this week have drafted for and they've never been able to do. We've seen a lot of poke comps never get to poke because they fall 5,000 gold behind, the control wards go down, and their comp just looks inferior. It's a risky draft from Jin Air, but although they've played it close to ideal. There's always going to be a couple of times that the enemy gets the better of you when you're trying to play relentlessly aggressive. They're close to ideal, and yet not close to closing out the game yet. They still have work to be done. KT have the more forgiving comp, as Teddy's actually roaming down bot lane to help out his top lane.
Yeah, the Teddy roam trying to come on in there, but looks like he was spotted somewhere along the way, as Smeb did not want any hand in that fight. But yeah, we got some objectives coming up here. 15 seconds away from the Baron. And the vision control heavily in favor of Jin Air so far.
Very tense part of the game. Zach is increasingly being able to find teamfight relevant places to charge up his elastic slingshot. Smeb in the side lane doing a lot of damage to this tower. He's going to get it down.
We finally see an Abyssal Voyage come on in, but Sohan says, see you later.
And Baron is now going to be started for the side of Jin Air.
Yeah, it's only Umti who's tanking this up, having a really rough time of that, but the Weaver's Wall really on point. It looks like KT just going to ignore this and try to go for other objectives. They're pushing in mid. They get that bottom turret. Certainly the Baron is going to be Jin Air's, but what can KT get on the map?
Yeah, they decide that they can't contest it because of the Weaver's Wall being in the mid side. It's just going to be one single inner turret, the outer bot lane turret, so much standing gold. When these are the first 4 turrets of the game for KT Rolster, they're going to back away. So still, Jin Air are going to feel really good about what they claimed on the top side of the map. They're still going to be able to push up with the Baron buff minions to slow down the Paddle Stars and the Trouble Bubbles coming through from Zoe. Jin Air still feeling great about this game. They got the second Purple Worm.
That they have, and didn't go back. They were trying to find an opportunity to get some position in the mid lane here. But now it's turned kind of back into A-Ram, that Elder Drake just staring at whichever team wants to take it, but Jin Air say, we want to push down mid lane instead.
KT threatening an engage, but if you make the wrong engage here, you lose the game to the Baron buff. So risky for Score, who missed one of these pivotal engages in the mid lane. Trouble Bubble arm.
Pawn trying to get tricky, sending the Paddle Star just away from the person that is slept up. Seems like it never quite ends here for Pawn and the harass. It's going to get someone in the front, but they're looking to knock him down. Everything does miss, and the cannon barrage is committed to. They wanted to get on to Score here. Even with the Fate's Call, they can't quite bring him down into that passive, though.
He has the Warmogs. If he backs away, he'll be able to heal up and re-engage. So Kidnap is down. Health bar is falling low.
Oh boy. Seems like Sohan is always the pick in the front because he can get the heals and heal himself up. So he'll always be eating the Paddle Stars for the team of Jin Air.
Very rarely does a team with Baron buff get this much of a contest from the enemy team before we're getting to objectives. This is far away from the inhibitor turret, the last line that KT have to defend. But KT know that there's very little answer to Pawn, who is 5 items strong, only a death cap short of a full build, you'd imagine. And she Veil cancelled onto the Nidalee. Talia getting hers back in the mid lane. Jin Air trying to force KT to defend in an open 5v5. KT that is coming from the darkness, fishing for any sort of deletion.
Yeah, just fishing here in the darkness, but this time it'll be Jin Air's turn to fish for someone, but Smeb wants to hop over the wall, will do just that. And in the end, it looks like Teddy is the one that will take the most damage in this fight. Did have a disgusting amount of shields and heals and everything, but
KT want to keep the members of Jin Air around. Huge minion wave, about 3 minion waves crashing together on the top side. That cannon is very, very confused. It's going all the way around. Looked very dumb. Elder will start, or at least Elder will be leashed. Finally, a bat comes through for Bonu. Sadly, has to sell his item there. Bill picks up an Nearly Large Rod as all the Gangplank mains in the chat get excited about how much extra gold he got from that wave.
That's a fun one. He's already got 5 items. We'll see if he does eventually sell the Spirit Visage and his boots. Eventually. We're getting there. 40 minutes once again for game number 2. No shortage of longer games here.
We never even mentioned that casually Teddy has 513 CS at 40 minutes, because of course he does.
I mean, it's Teddy. He's got a lot of records in that category.
You just see what happens when you actually pick a winning lane for Teddy against KT Rolster. First time in 3 games he's had right lane matchup, and it has allowed Jin Air so much more freedom compared to when he was made accountable in game 1. Looking to start up the Elder. A lot of damage onto this, but we're seeing Pawn walk up.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for the Smite Rend here. MT, though, getting low. They might lose their Smite in this fight. It's going to be all up to Rend, and see you later. Nidalee is going to be taken out, but the Underdrake does go over to Jin Air, but it's mostly just going to be used to take down. But look at this, Teddy in the front lines trying to take down member after member. Double kill, and the JAG passive is going to be on the cards here. Triple kill given over to Teddy. He's not done yet. The Quadra, he's looking for the Penta. Not going to go for it as they want to push the mid lane, but so much room for Teddy, and he gets the job done.
Even though was the first person to go down, the Ren deals with the Drake. 2 Infernos amped up, and Jin Air, they're looking for the close. I think we're going to game 3.
Teddy was able to do it, and this is going to be his 4th win in a row on the Kalista. He finally gets that extended Penta onto Zoe. It happens. He finally gets it here. Very well deserved for our Kalista player, and Teddy, no doubt, going to be the MVP of this one. Jin Air, make it interesting. We're going to game 3, guys.
Risky draft, but sometimes risk leads to big reward. KT Rolster wanting to join Kingzone Dragon X at 8-2. That might still happen, but it'll require game 3 after a really spirited performance by Jin Air GreenWings.
Very well deserved. You can see how tense it was in the mid game, but they never let up. They didn't get nervous. They didn't fall under the pressure. All the Zoe poke. They just said, we know exactly what to do, how to play around it, and they make the good play around Elder. Even with the Weaver's Wall down, they still get the objective and make it happen. Nicely done. Teddy looks satisfied, I'll say.
He's not prematurely celebrating. He still knows there's a job to be done, but a pentakill in competitive play is always something to feel great about. KT Rolster will wonder how they lost this game. They would have loved their scaling. We got to the point where scaling should be relevant. There was never a true front-to-back 5v5 fight. Pawn had to go super deep into the fight to delete the Nidalee, but of course, when Rend is there, the Smite is not removed. They did not get the Drake. They did not win the fight. We're going to get a replay. It's great deletion by Pawn, who does hit the trouble bubble, invests everything to get into the back line. So, of course, your eyes are naturally on the top side of the map. The Rend gets the Drake, and then with Cosmic Radiance, they fight through it. Wraith doesn't go down at the start. Smeb can never build a Nahbar. He just dies instantly to the Fate's Call and some autos. And the extended pentakill here comes through for Teddy.
Flash in that wall like it's nobody's business, and then good guy Zoe at the end of it all.
They would have lost the game. They would have lost the game, whatever happens. Pawn wanted to poke around, try to find a way, stop the wave going down. Teddy was already in front of the inhibitor turret before it went down.
He was prepared
easy
for it.
penta for him. Thank God that timer is more kind than it used to be. A pentakill is always something to celebrate.
That it is. Teddy still looking calm, cool, collected. I doubt we're going to let him be on Kalista a 2nd game in a row after a performance like that. He wins the lane with his partner Wraith, and he wins the game with the rest of his team by his side. But guys, we're going to take another quick break. When we're back, game number 3 to close out this exciting series.